What is up, guys? It's Jimbo here, back for my totally not intentional bi-weekly dunking on Destiny 2. Now, I'm about to make a statement that might surprise you.
Hold on to your butts.
Build Crafting 2.0 has killed builds in Destiny 2. It's killed build variety, it's killed a lot of the fun in the game that I had, and the reasons for this, and the reasons I've come to this conclusion, is going to be explained throughout this video. But I want to front load you with a couple of key pieces of information. I have made 82 build videos on Destiny 2 dating back to Beyond Light, with the introduction of Stasis, pre-subclass 2.0 builds, and with each 2.0 update with Solar, Void, Arc, and with Strand being the newest of the 2.0 subclasses. Warmind cells, charged with light, elemental wells. I've tried and tested it all, so it's safe to say that I've had a lot of time making builds in this game. Builds and the gameplay around them is the main reason I've kept playing Destiny for so long. It's not necessarily because of all the weapons or the different activities, the ups and the downs. I've always played, and I played so much during the Witch Queen era of the game, which was just last year, because there was so much variety in builds, and I enjoyed all the changes that was brought then. And it's so funny that I can pinpoint the exact moment that I stopped having fun with these Destiny 2 gameplay systems. And that is day one of Season of the Deep. It slowly but surely crept up, and this was because I wanted Bungie to have a 3-month grace period to see if they were going to make any big changes and add new things to the game when the new season dropped. Simply put, they didn't. They didn't add anything. It was a slow decline of my enjoyment of the system. There are a couple of other things, but season upon season, it has diminished. Even with some of the exotic changes that we've had, small tweaks, it's just not fixed a huge problem that build crafting has created, or rather, a list of problems. Before I do talk about it though, I do want to hear it in the comments if you do enjoy Build Crafting 2.0 or not. I'd love to see some other perspectives on this, but on with the video. First, let's show you this. Build number 1, using a Gear Falcon's Halberg. It's a Void build. And here is build number 2, this time with Omnioculus. Now, can you spot the difference? They are the exact same build, with one exotic change that has slightly affected the way that you play the specific build. The same mods, the same aspects and fragments, just one exotic change, and the level of depth that you have to the system now is all but gone. Why is this a problem? Allow me to explain. So the first issue we have with the mod system in the game is that a lot of the stuff has been condensed down into generic mods. For example, Heavy-Handed is now whenever you cause a powered melee final blow, you create orbs of power and then firepower. But the thing is, outside of those two mods, we have the siphon mods. That is it when it comes to being able to generate orbs. You don't generate orbs on here. You don't generate orbs. You generate orbs via your class and obviously getting kills and such. But it's mainly those two that you get when it comes to creating orbs. Then we also have the kickstart mods, which these require armor charge, but these have also been capped out as well, so you don't get the full effect of using them when you have more of them. So this is where you either make a choice on having the grenade kickstart, or you go into the surges. Also generic mods that are just not used. Font of Focus, Font of Vigor. They're just not used at all because the benefits for having them don't give you anything when it comes to stats on your character. Then also on top of that, we have ammo mods. Ammo mods are so inconsistent when you use them. The scavengers are actually quite good, but when it comes to actually getting one of these to drop, and it even says multiple copies of these allow you to get more ammo, it just doesn't. There's a way that you can do it with an exotic weapon. Say if you're using a sunshot, It's something like 25 kills to 50 kills or something like that before you get an ammo drop. And ammo is just an issue that it has right now. And then everything else is just so generic. And we had so much removed. You can't even look at the mods that were removed from the game. We had Powerful Friends reduced down, obviously, which is one of the ones that stayed. We have Radiant Light, and the hand mods, or the arms mods. Heavy-handed used to be its own thing. We also had Firepower used to be able to have its own thing, but it was much better when it was the Charge with Light version. There was also, which is why I'll have a little talk about the artifact in a moment, the weapon-specific mods that allowed us to gain armor charge. For example, here you have Blast Radius. There was also Quick Charge that allowed you to be able to get your mods, or to be able to get things. We also have Lucent Blade now, which has been kind of nerfed into whatever it is. But we used to have different weapons that allowed you to be able to generate armor charges or charge with light during that period. We had different options. Warmind cells did eventually get nerfed, but we had those, and it meant that every exotic choice that you made was a little bit more meaningful, because, for example, if I wanted to go with the Shards of Galanor build, I could make it around the explosions and with the Warmind cells as well, taking into consideration the subclass. So then we get the ignitions, and then every so often with the ignitions we could have the Warmind cells that would then spawn, little added effect that played into a different system that made my Shards of Galanor build much more meaningful compared to someone else's. Now that you understand that, let's actually talk about expanding the system, which straight up hasn't happened. No new mods in 2 seasons, but they added 3 extra ones a little bit later after Lightfall. That's only because the community wanted them so badly. They gutted stasis mods. They gutted a whole bunch of the Warmind Cell Charge with Light mods, and they condensed them down into these generic versions. But we've had nothing since. Zero. Nada. Diddly squat. This means that every build that is made is exactly the same as the next one. There is no originality or a focused way of playing that you could tailor to. It's either you focus on surges for additional weapon damage, or one ability, whether that's focusing highly into the melee ability or the grenade kickstart or your utility. This may seem like I'm being a little reductive, but I started to notice an uptick of extra YouTuber has already made this build, why are you copying them type comments. Well, that would be because out of all of the mods available, they are just limited now, which means every person that's made builds before is going to land on the same conclusion on a specific build. Another reason for this frustration is down to the artifact as well. Now let's also talk about the artifact. The artifact shoehorns us into specific builds for 3 months. Right now, if you are not playing a solar or a stasis build or a strand build, you are straight up missing out on extra things. Yes, having the ability to do precision shots will be able to make you radiant. I think there's one of those here. Rapid solar weapon precision hits allows you to become radiant. This can work on a couple of the other classes, of course, with like Devour and stuff like that, but that's one mod. Yes, all of these are passive, but they force you into a gameplay style that maybe you don't want to play solar that consistently, and you just don't have any of these extra boosts, so it means that you're not as optimal. And then also, the most frustrating thing in the world is the fact that they're giving us mods that they took away from us on the artifact as a way to fill it out. For example, Blast Radius. Argent Ordnance is another one that we had. It was an expensive mod, but it rewarded you for putting the armor energy into it. This is where my issues with the artifact lie, because also sometimes the artifact is ass and there's not very good mods on there. So you're just kind of picking the best of a bad bunch sometimes. This also leads into another issue, which I want to briefly touch on, which is aspects. We have not had any new aspects. We've had slight subtle changes here and there when it comes to aspects, but none of them have been improved upon. Like, we've not had any extra ones. There's 3 on Solar. On Void, at least here, we have 3. It's the same on all of the classes. Strand, however, Strand has 4 that we can choose for, and in Stasis has the most on some classes. I think there's like 5 on one of them, and you can have a bunch of different fragments and stuff with those as well. None of them, no new aspects that we can add onto it a year on from the final update of the 2.0 classes. Yes, the focus has been on Strand, but it means that the other classes just don't feel as good. Even Stasis is being left behind as well, because there's not been any big changes in the last 9 months or so. And even with this, we used to have a bunch of Stasis mods that they changed onto the boots, I believe it was. Not Powerful Attraction. It was on the boots here. Yeah, it was Elemental Charge. Collecting a fire sprite on each trait. This is basically a condensed down version of what the Stasis ones stuff are, but it's an escalating chance. So you have to get multiple of these to work. And, you know, multiple copies of this can be stacked, but it's for diminishing returns. I don't even know what that means when you can only get 1 or 2 of this back. It's just not a good look. There are a few bright sparks when it comes to build crafting 2.0. Loadouts being used on the fly is pretty good change. It's easy to navigate, and not having to have 15 sets of armor is pretty nice as well, but it's offset by Bungie not pushing the system forward at all and giving players more tools to mess with. Each season, builds stay exactly the same outside of the artifact mods that give us a boost in specific areas. I feel that they are way too afraid now in loot and in design of balancing to overpower us. They're trying to avoid really hard power creep, and it's just kind of having a really unfun effect on the game. This means that all the changes that they put into the game just don't offer that much value. I mean, look at the stasis changes that they promised this season, which was just a couple of stasis stat changes, and then they're going to add something more in the future. It's not really enough to change things up. And let's just talk about changes that Bungie decided to make as well. Bungie, hey, we made these mods for you to use and make builds on this system to make things easier for you. Players, we made these amazing builds and found ways to use them to reduce cooldowns and make some really cool things with the system. Bungie, we're making the mods worse now, so you are capped on how much you can circumvent the system we created for you to do so. It's these flip-flop changes that really just destroy all of the fun and don't really add anything, especially when generic mods are having these specific things on as well. Like, why do we need a 10-second cooldown on orb generation when it comes to using a melee ability? It's kind of stupid at this point, but I digress. The last 2 videos I've made on Destiny, including this one, have been in a negative light. And I'll be honest, it's because that part of Destiny that I loved with the build crafting, the most fun aspect, has been gutted in favor for a generic system that hasn't been improved upon. I was hopeful in the beginning, but it just hasn't done anything. I ain't taking none of that, oh, it'll be better in final shape shtick either, because I've waited 9 months to see if anything would be added or improved on the system, and it just hasn't. I'm still playing the same build I made in Lightfall on some of the classes, because that's all that's changed, just an exotic change or 2, and the build is pretty much the same. It's just the artifact that's really modified it. It's kind of sad, and I don't really know what else to say, as I've said it all in the video, and hopefully it resonates with everyone that, you know, enjoys builds and stuff, so that's why you've not seen it on my channel as much, but I've said what I've said. So yeah, hopefully this video has been enjoyable in some sense. If anything has resonated and you want to leave a comment down in the comment section, please do. And as always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.